They say it's a 1 in a million chance that a Japanese motorcycle has issues. Well, I won that lottery multiple times, so stick around if you're interested in that. I'm heading over to Workman to get some new stuff for my new job. I figured I would take today to talk about the used market in Japan for motorcycles. So something about Japanese people is if it's not broke, don't fix it. And the real goal is to not fix anything because they try to make things that last forever. In that, they buy things with the intent to do all the maintenance and the work for it to keep it forever. When you see used bikes in Japan, odds are they kept it till the very end of its life or till it just doesn't meet the shaken or road certifications anymore. And so it's a good chance you're buying someone else's headache. The other type of used bike that typically tends to happen, somebody who likes to replace their bikes all the time. And the problem is, if they're looking to upgrade instantly, they typically do not take the best care of it. They're not really worried about the longevity of the bike because they're just going to pass those problems and investments onto you. And this is not just my views. This is all my friends who ride here, all the mechanics I've talked to that are family friends of my partner who is Japanese, and these people are very conservative Japanese people, telling you not to trust Japanese used bike sales. The only people that I know that confidently buy used bikes are in pretty much two circumstances, or three maybe. One is that they're buying it as a track bike to say, if I destroy this bike, well, that's kind of why I bought it, isn't it? Or the people who say, no, I want a 1-year warranty on this used bike. Say you're buying a used Suzuki, get it from Suzuki because Suzuki took care of it. And if you get a used bike, and it doesn't matter who, Suzuki will have done the proper maintenance on it, even before they resell it. Honda for a Honda, Kawasaki for a Kawasaki. And that's the trick. You spend extra by always going to the dealer, but unless it's a personal friend mechanic that you trust with your life, that seems to be what you're supposed to do here. And yeah, the other type of person who's going to get such a used bike is the person that has no money, needs a bike now, and is planning on replacing it in a few months only. That all being said, you'll see older bikes here, like from the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, even the 50s and 60s, in really good shape. But the trick there is, most of the time, if that's not a specialty collector who is willing to invest any dollar sign, the majority of those people bought that bike brand new in a showroom, and it was something they just maintained with the idea of never getting rid of it. And they never did, because it was good when they got it, it's good now. What's changed? What's changed is Google's directions at intersections. Not very good. Can't turn there. So yeah, if it was good when I got it, it's still good now. Why get a new bike? And they'll say that for like 40 or 50 years. When you want to buy a used bike, you have that Craigslist style person-to-person deal, no dealer involved, no warranty or any guarantee involved. And the issue there is you now have to trust this person who's getting rid of a bike in a culture that says don't get rid of it unless it's broken. Now, the way I got my bike was through a dealer. I went to a website called Goo Bike. It usually leads you to a company called Socks. Another big name for used bike dealers is Red Baron. I'm not going to say that these are unreputable places, but what I will tell you is over 90% of the people I know, including every mechanic I know who doesn't work at one of them, will say these places are usually scams. I'm not saying that's all of them. I will say that's what I'm riding. Essentially, what I've been told they do, and unfortunately believe about this bike specifically, is they'll take any bike and they'll flip it as cheap as possible, do as little as possible, and that might even be, it's damaged, just paint the damage, don't fix it. So as a backstory, I kind of always believed the Japanese bikes are bulletproof because the ones I had were, with two exceptions. I had a Honda Shadow 750 Spirit from 2003. I bought it used, and it didn't really need anything when I got it. One day while riding, it just stopped firing correctly, and then one of the cylinders gave out, and the other one kept sputtering on and off. We did every single thing we could think of. I even took it to a couple mechanics, and no one could get it running. There was a very bad rainstorm a few days before those issues happened, so maybe something like that happened. I gave it to a friend as a gift to say, if you fix it, it's yours. As far as I know, he figured out the issue. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but he hasn't gotten around to fixing it because it's enough of a problem to say the bike might not be worth the cost of the maintenance. The second bike was this bike. And as I said earlier, I got it from a dealer. I got it from the dealer Socks. And this was in Kansai, near Osaka. And the only reason I say that is because if you watch my why I'm leaving Osaka video, there's a quality difference to everything here in the Kanto, i.e. Tokyo region, and the Kansai Osaka region. So that might be part of the issue. I don't know. I'm just saying it for you to think about. But I got this bike with a 1-month dealer warranty from that shop. And I paid the dealer fees and everything. So that left me to believe that I got a pretty reliable used bike, because I got it from a dealer. I got a 2014 Suzuki V Strom 650, a renowned bike for its durability, and it was only year 2020. It had 50-some thousand kilometers. By our standards, that's nothing. It's good to go. I got home and noticed the brake lights weren't working. The reason the brake lights weren't working is because apparently it turned out the rear brake had been jammed in place somehow and wasn't working. Now, I'm willing to take some of the blame for that. I don't typically use the rear brake as much as the front brake. I only use it at stoplights to rest my hands and not roll away. But I didn't quite notice it was jammed on. I just thought it was a stiff rear brake. And when I got it back, the brakes had started squealing, because I took it to Socks again, and they did some maintenance. They fixed it, and the brakes started squealing again. 2 weeks later, I noticed the phone charger wasn't working, which, that's an extra part. These cigarette lighters tend to wear out over time. That is what it is. But it's under warranty, so I want my money's worth. And then I decided to try my hand at a little off-road style dirt roading in Kyoto Prefecture. That time in Kyoto turned into one of the worst days I've had in Japan, because in the middle of the mountains by myself, which may have been a bad choice, my clutch plates broke. Genuinely broke. I had no power, no traction, nothing. And this bike with all the gear was a little over 220 kilograms. Not something you're wanting to push uphill by yourself off-road in a Japanese mountain. Now, I luckily found a park ranger and realized it was the day after my warranty ran out, so I had to pay for new clutch plates. Fine. It is what it is. But that leaves us to another problem with this bike. It goes on, I promise. It leads us to another problem with the bike. When I got it back, shifting at low RPMs, the gears would get stuck, and the gear indicator here would stop reading what gear I'm in. And what I would have to do is let go of the clutch and rev it till it would skip a gear, just to get it down. So if I had to emergency stop because of Osaka drivers in 4th gear, the RPMs are too low to shift. Now, I called the dealer, I brought it back a few times, they said, oh, that's normal, it's a new bike. Well, during that, I test rode a couple new bikes and said, I don't think you're correct, because these bikes have 2 kilometers on them and are not doing that. I have no idea where I am. And they told me after about 1,000 kilometers, it'll bed in and it'll smoothen out. Well, I've got about 6,000 extra kilometers since the incident. It's only gotten worse, progressively worse. And then when I'm loosening bolts, to put things on and take things off, loosening the bolt, they cracked off. Like, I can understand if I over tightened an old bolt and it snapped. Yeah, that happens. But loosening the bolt, what is that? As I was looking at some things, forget broken bolts, a lot of them were missing. So I think it goes without saying, which is something people say after ironically saying it anyways. I got a Lemon, a secretly devastated vehicle, and the only rational solution is to trade it in and get something new, which is exactly what I did. So later this month, I will be getting a new bike. But to figure that out, you'll have to stick around, and I hope to see you next time. This has been Kyoto Rider. Thanks for watching.